My eyes are wonderful.
Your eyes are wonderful, and you always have positive things to say about me.
Well, if you don't have positive things to say, then you have nothing to say at all.
But wasn't it Mae West that said, if you don't have anything nice to say, come sit next to me?
Well, she liked that type of thing. Welcome back to the Ellen Cherry podcast. The Why Aren't You Famous podcast with me, Andrew Grimm, your host, and...
Ellen Cherry, your co-host.
My co-host. My second banana?
Oh, why can't I be? I guess I should be first banana.
You are first banana. You eat enough bananas.
I do, at least once a day. And also alphabetically, my last name is before yours, but my first name is after yours. So maybe we are on equitable footing.
Very good.
We need to create an alphabet where it doesn't go from A to Z. It's just all the letters at once. Alphabet soup.
Oh, boy. Yeah, alphabet puree. So how are you doing, Ellen Cherry?
I'm doing great. I haven't seen you in so long since the last time we recorded the last podcast, literally minutes ago.
Yeah, it's felt like years. Did you make any enemies yet? Because that was your big thing. You're gonna talk about making enemies.
I should have spent that 10 minutes in between the last one and this one, really concentrating on enemies.
What do you think? What do you think is? What do you think you're gonna gain by developing enemies? A should be, how are you going to go about creating enemies? And then B, what do you think you're going to gain by that?
Okay, I realize that maybe I have given you the wrong impression about the purpose of, that's the B question. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. A, how am I going to go about it? I'm going to do about it, I think, probably the same way that Peter Pumpkinhead did, which is spreading wisdom and cash around. So please send money so I can spread it around. Huh. No, I think the
liberal.
And the reason why I was talking about that was that I didn't make an enemy, but at one of the shows you and I played a couple weeks ago, I was singing a song. I had written a silly song about making fun of the president and comparing him to a baby. Yeah. And a local musician friend of yours walked out. Yeah. So is he my enemy now? Did I make an enemy? And I thought about that. No, I didn't, because we had a discussion later on Facebook that I thought was pretty friendly, or like, it wasn't unfriendly. And I don't think that it doesn't matter. But he walked out, he was offended, and he didn't want to engage in conversation about it and be thoughtful with me.
That's not helpful.
I know, I'm just
That is
joking.
not helpful. That is not any way to engage anyone in a conversation.
I agree. No, I'm just being cynical and sarcastic.
Jeez.
So that happened. But I wonder about making enemies just by doing that type of work, just by the work that I want to do naturally and just having it amplified. That it's just like, I feel like I was conditioned to be very polite, and I'm trying to shed my politeness.
You're doing a good job of it.
Thanks. I did just a minute ago, because that was rude. You're right. And it's like the second time that I've self-reprimanded myself about it, because it's not
you're one
helpful.
Of those.
It's not that it's not nice. It's just that it's not helpful. It's not productive.
No, it's not helpful. Yeah. That's the whole, like, that argument that we have when I want to argue with somebody who voted for Trump. I don't really want to argue with them, because you get ahead of yourself in your head about like how could they do this? Da, 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 da. Instead of engaging in the conversation and saying, okay, well, I hear you. What? How
do we get down to the heart of what is driving that opinion?
And how, like, even the left, even the folks who didn't vote for Trump, has lost its persuasive edge.
Yeah.
And in place, there's
become rigid, totally rigid.
Like you're an idiot. And it's like, well, okay, once you get all that out, then maybe you should try with, like, wow, you must be hurting.
I think so. Back to what I was trying to say and stumbling over before is that I don't necessarily want to actively engage in creating enemies. I think that I was just using it as a facetious and sarcastic description of how I want to do good things, and that there are people, like especially in that song Peter Pumpkinhead by XTC, he's just doing good, loving things. He talks about love. He's helping the poor, right. and people who should be enemies of that are being highlighted. Mm-hmm. And that's what the purpose of it is. I want to highlight the enemies of people who are against love and music and sharing and protecting and caring for each other and being loving and kind, and I want them to reveal themselves as my enemies so that we can fucking thwart them.
Wow.
So the second question,
Yeah.
B,
Ooh.
was that's why. Yeah. For thwarting purposes
Okay.
and smiting.
Well, yes, not for understanding and meeting in the middle, but for absolute, complete domination.
Yes.
Right, great. Oh boy, I tell you what, Ellen Cherry, it's been a long day.
It has been a long day. We don't have to get into communism right now.
We don't have to now. We can
Because today's topic is about
the physical.
the physical effect of, I don't even actually know. I didn't really understand it.
Well,
Like most of these essays.
as we remind the listener, when Ellen Cherry and I created this podcast, when we started talking about it and planning it out,
we were drunk.
We were so hammered, man. Because, like, being like super rock stars and stuff, we're just like
With local fame.
dude, we're ripped all the time. I'm ripped right now. What? Where am I? I'm drinking. What am I drinking? Ooh, Klostaller, non-alcoholic amber. Sweet.
Anyway, so when we created the list,
When we created the list, we were really just kind of throwing out ideas about the essays.
yeah.
And I think, like, after a while, it just became like, well, can we get to 24? So anything was like, the kitchen sink and everything else went into it. And so, but then there's this idea, like, then when we go back before we write these essays, usually this is initiated by Ellen Cherry. She says, well,
What does that mean?
what I don't understand what this means. And so then we have like a brief conversation, and then she's like, I got it. And then she goes off and she writes a really cool essay. And then I'm kind of like, well, what does that mean? And so that's why we have different essays and different takes on things.
Yeah.
And
it's cool to listen to them without having heard them before.
And what's really cool too, I think now, is that we're starting to get where there's like a trickle of feedback now, kind of starting to pop up.
Cool.
Well, we got that one guy on Facebook, Dino is his name. I went to college with him. He said that he really likes the podcast.
Oh, nice. Good.
You liked it.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm just liking things all over the place.
Wow.
Trying to work on my enemies list.
Okay. Well, there's that.
Pretty sure. Did you know that if you like something on Facebook, somebody can that you liked it?
Yeah. It's a meta like. I like that you like something.
That's what I mean by enemies.
Right. Okay.
The thumbs down button.
No.
So cool. I will go back and look what I liked about Dino. I remember Dino.
You remember Dino?
Yeah, I remember Dino.
Okay. I remember Dino.
Yeah. So let's hear your essay.
Okay, so yeah, so my essay is my essay is my essay is my essay. So take that. So this is going to be about the physical.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Socrates, Euripides, Susan B. Anthony, Beethoven, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Mark Twain, Emily Dickinson, Jane Austen, Flannery O'Connor, James Baldwin, Raymond Carver, Jimi Hendrix, Billie Holiday, Lou Reed, Tom Petty. All of these people are dead. None of them retain a physical form. All of them are famous. What a scary thought that at some point, what we put out into the world will be the only proof of our existence. We will become only an idea, a thought that may become a faint echo through time, heard by succeeding generations. What's scary about this notion is that at the same time, there are millions of other voices doing the same thing. Sure, you're not going out alone, but there's a greater chance your voice will be obscured in the din. Which brings me to the point about the physical importance of fame. While we are awake and healthy and young, we must produce work. The raw blaze of thought and seemingly relentless energy of creativity flows from the brain to the fingers. In later years, as we slow down, that blaze turns to a simmer and a warming reflection on experience, something we may translate as wisdom. Unfortunately, with this idea of fame, it's not just about the work, but how you look. Stress and age will not be denied their voices on that matter. In some sort of ironic twist, though, we've seen fame create a tension and pressure which bears and tears down the physical state of artists. They tend to age faster and burn out quicker than when they are vulnerable. They get compared to the image and vitality of their earlier self. That must be a nightmare, to set a standard or be a standard so young, and to be expected to always meet it with little room for reinterpretation. Let me share a secret. I don't like including pictures of myself on my records, because I don't really think it should matter what I look like, or that my personal style might affect the listener's view. I'm average height, with a semi-dad bod. I could stand to work out, maybe get a new haircut, and yes, I've been wearing the same jeans and shirts for about 20 years, no lie. I shudder when people talk about an artist's image, because that's just smoke and mirrors. I don't think it's them. Maybe it's a statement, but images fade. Fame makes us old and useless in the reflection of a younger image we could never again attain. But the words in the songs are what continue. They can have new life breathed into them, interpreted and reinterpreted in many ways that will never age.
Good job, Grim. Another great essay.
Well,
Shucks.
geez, I'm pretty brilliant.
My mother has, at several points in my life, we've had this conversation where she has talked about the forgetting in families of people that are 1 to 2 generations separated. The
Yes.
idea that in my family, my parents and grandparents are children of immigrants, and then there's not a lot of records or photography that goes earlier than, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of families,
Oh, yeah.
earlier than the 30s, 20s, teens, and the memories, like the oral traditions in our family of like who was who and their personalities disappears literally within 2 generations. And I've observed that the attention that younger people in my family pay attention to older people, aunts and uncles and grandparents, is it seems less than the way that I wrote and spoke to my grandparents. And that may just be on an individual basis. I was very interested. I was a historian. I was
Right.
always interested in their stories. I'm a storyteller. I was always interested in my grandparents' journey, sometimes to this country, throughout the country, their life, how they felt about the culture. But the idea that you were talking about in your essay of the artifact lasting, for you and I, neither of us have children. And a lot,
Correct.
and right? And yet we're somehow fulfilled. It's amazing. And I'm not saying that you can't be fulfilled with children. It looks like you certainly can. Both ways.
Yeah.
There's life fulfillment in both breeding and not breeding.
Uh-huh.
But I don't want to speak for you about this, but I made a conscious choice not to breed.
Well, I wasn't really I wasn't interested in having children, and then nature has a way of saying no.
Yeah, right.
So,
Exactly.
As odd as that is. So
I hope that doesn't. I don't mean to hurt your feelings by saying that. Did I hurt your feelings? No, he's laughing.
I don't care.
But so.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, I am incapable of having children. I'm just letting you guys know that now. There were some complications at some point in my development.
Let's leave it there.
I mean, I could still have sex. It's great, but I'm just not having kids.
We are
anytime
talking
soon.
about the physical right now.
We are talking about the
very
physical.
deeply.
Yes.
My point with that is that you and I personally, in our lifetime, will not have genetic material that comes from our specific set of genes and is given to the next generation. So
Correct.
and sometimes that's the artifacts of what other people produce in their life. If they're not producing a building, a paper, a recording,
Sure.
something other artifact, then their artifact is their children.
Right.
Sometimes.
And that's a direct biological need.
Yes, right? And so the idea of you're talking about that lasting artifact was interesting because, yes, those people achieved fame sometimes in their own lifetime, but their fame grew over human history because of the artifacts that they left behind. And then the second thing that you address is the idea of the physical toll that it takes on people who become famous really early when they are doing the exploratory work
Right.
of creation, which can sometimes lead to brilliant genius works,
Right.
and sometimes not. I mean, there's plenty of evidence of artists that worked for 4 decades before they
Yeah.
revealed their genius
Sure.
finally. And then there's definitely people who have been had early genius and expressed it and then were criticized later for not being as genius as they were the first time around, which is fucking ridiculous. But that is a stressful thing, and the pressure of fame, and I do look at that as a relief. Like when you were talking about that in your essay, I thought about that. I have an affection for my recordings from 1996 to 2007. So a pretty long period of time that I, as an independent musician, never had a label, rarely had producing help, paid for everything myself, was really mindful of being in the studio, which you can tell I talked about that in an earlier essay of being squeezed and restricted and feeling nervous about it because of financial constraint. When I listen to those recordings, it's experimentation, and
Right.
and I don't feel like I had developed the skill level that other people have had their first time out of the gate for whatever reason. And I feel like now I am proud of the progress that I've made, and I think that the recordings now are better.
Sure.
The songwriting is better. But if you had to base your judgment on what I was doing in 1996 and 1997, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't genius yet, you know? And I'm not saying I'm a genius. But I have written 2 really good songs the last couple of years.
Yes, you have. You've written several good songs.
Yeah. So
Limited at a couple.
I've written some good songs, but I feel like I've written 2 really great songs
Oh, okay.
the last couple of years. Like there are songs that I really enjoy playing, and I'm sort of like, yeah, that is an impressive line. As a
Right.
songwriter, I'm outside appreciating like, hey, way to go.
Right. Like, yeah.
And it doesn't happen often. And that's another reason why I'm fine with not being famous, because I feel like it would detract me from like the deep introspection and time that I need to impress myself again. And that's getting harder and harder. The
Sure.
more skill I get, it's getting harder and harder to impress myself. So
Right.
anyway,
Yeah, when you hear your own song, you're like, God, I wish I wrote that. Oh, I did write that.
yay.
I'm the best.
And I get to sing it. You know what I mean.
Of course I do. Yeah, I think like the whole physical thing, the manifestation of who we are, is so. While we're alive, I guess I don't know if we think about it beyond like what happens like 50 years after I'm dead. Will anybody remember me or anything like that? Or I don't
Do you
know.
ever think about that?
I don't know if when I was teaching, I always felt kind of secure that my legacy was just going to carry on with those kids. Like they were going to remember me.
Yeah.
And I think they do.
And that was important.
And that was kind of like a side benefit. It was a cool thing. Like it was like, okay, so at least something that I was doing in the classroom carried on with these kids.
Yeah.
You know, and it was really funny because I've left teaching a couple times, and each time you leave, there's this funny thing that happens. Like the first year in 2010 when I quit, I went back for a graduation thing or whatever. I was playing a song for their graduating class, and I mean, you'd think that I was like some sort of super rock star, like the way that people like treated me and ran up to talk to me, and they were really excited to see me, and it was funny. It was like, oh, okay, this is great, you know.
Yeah.
But then, like if you're gone for more than a year, you know, well, people forget who you are. Like the students have no idea who you are. I was just there 3 weeks ago for a career day speech, and when I walked into the school, it's like. I realized the only people who remember me is a small subsection of the senior class. Mm-hmm. So it was only about like maybe 60 kids would have even recognized that I was there or who I was. And one of the things we used to do as teachers is the strategic academic intrusion, where you would walk into somebody else's class while they're teaching and try to derail them. And there's this one teacher, a guy named Tom DeLeese, who This is his last year. He's retiring after this year, and he's a really great teacher, but he also catches a lot of shit from a lot of people. And so I stared into his room for a moment, and he looked at me, and he's like, "Oh," and so he opened up the door, and I came in, and he started making fun of me, which is his custom to do, because I mean, he's old and withering, and he's sad about, like, what his life has come to, so he has to lash out at people who are younger and more with more vitality than he has.
Whoa. I didn't expect it to take that turn. I thought this was going to be a colloquial little Prairie Home Companion discussion of a former teacher colleague, but go ahead.
Well, this is.
Okay.
So I'm just hoping that he listens to this podcast and hears me say those things about him, because that's not anything that I didn't say in front of his class. But
this guy, he's old and irrelevant.
But what he then goes, "Hey, turns to his class. He goes, any of you here ever have Mr. Grimm as a teacher?" And they all looked at him with these blank stares. I said, "Nobody knows who I am here anymore." And there's that sobering thing, like a place where I was once somebody, I am no longer anybody.
Yeah. And how quickly it happened.
Yeah. So it's like, I think what it is that I have to put the trust in my work, and put the effort into my work. And when I go, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm leaving behind, which reminds me of this really great. Well, that was close. I almost knocked myself out with a microphone. There's this guy, Andy the Door Bum, I met him down in Charlotte, North Carolina at Snug Harbor, the bar, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm going on the road pretty soon, blah blah blah. I might be up in Baltimore." I was like, "Oh, cool." Exchanged emails and stuff, and so he played it was a really weird gig somewhere down in Mount Vernon. And I went to see it, and he was kind of like this Tom Waitsy kind of guy. Mm-hmm. He was playing electric guitar. It was like electric guitar and trombone, and like maybe a drum or something. It was really weird. But he had this really great line where he said, "Yeah, I understand. I can't take it with me, but I can leave a lot of stuff behind." And I was like, "Oh, snap. I wish I'd written that line." That's a good line. But you start thinking about, like, well, what you leave behind is probably the most important thing. And I want to leave behind good work. I want to leave behind, there's another Lake Wobegon moment, be well, do good work. But that's the whole idea.
Yes. And there are some people who have what we would consider fame who are doing that. Mm-hmm. And it is facilitated by their fame.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm sure it's stressful and taking a toll on their physical health.
Oh, there's no doubt. No doubt. You know who you are. My cousin Donnie.
He's so stressed out.
Oh my God. He's so stressed out. He's like, he got these night terror sweats that, like, they don't fit right exactly. So he got to get another pair from the Kmart.
I'm indulging you right now.
Well, you should indulge. Well, my fucking cousin Donnie, man, he got indulged once. Let me tell you. I mean, he was like,
should we listen to my essay?
Yes, we should listen to your essay, Ellen Cherry. Yes. All right. So, do you want to say anything about the essay before we play it?
It stressed me out.
It stressed me out.
It stressed me out doing this.
Ellen Cherry, stressed is just desserts spelled backwards.
It is. Dang. I'm hungry.
So I'll make you some eggs.
It's not dessert.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. My fucking cousin Donnie.
It's early in the morning, and I'm supposed to deliver this essay so that we can record our podcast later today. And that has me stressed. I went to bed stressed because I realized I didn't really have a topic for the conversation and a topic for the essay like I usually do, because it was just eluding me. So that was causing me stress. So finally, I was so stressed out that I just went to sleep, decided to get up early and try it again. And I woke up with no ideas. And so it was an instant feeling of stress, maybe more anxiety. But I thought about that like, this is completely self-imposed. And most of the stress that I experience about my work is completely self-imposed. And I think it comes from a sense of wanting to be perfect about it. Or not even perfect, but just achieving something that feels like flying. I went hang gliding once a couple of years ago. That's the closest that I've been to flying like a bird. I mean, being in a plane is more just like sitting in a very scary chair that's a few miles from the ground, flying at 500 miles an hour. Hang gliding seemed akin to flying to me. But I do something every other day that's kind of like flying, and that's swimming. And when I think about how I feel about stress, one of the ways that I relieve it is by swimming. And then I get stressed if I don't swim. But let me tell you about swimming. Swimming is the one place and the one activity where I feel completely in charge and full of mastery and know what I'm doing and I'm good at it. And it's really just about me pushing myself to swim better, to be stronger, to swim for longer. And I feel absolutely no stress when I'm in the pool. It's the one place in the world where I have just a complete feeling of flying. So this is a rambling essay because I didn't actually write this one first. I just thought I'm just going to get up and record it. I looked up the definition of distress, and it is suffering pain or anxiety or sorrow. And there have been times in my participation in the music business where I have definitely felt anxiety and pain and sorrow and stress and distress. And I found that the word distress comes from the Latin and French origins, meaning stretched apart. And I wonder if the reasons why I feel stressed are because I am being pulled apart from the thing that really makes me happy, or is really not against my spirit, being stretched in a way that is not useful. There's a term that was coined by an endocrinologist in the 70s called eustress, spelled eustress, from the Greek meaning good. And I found that to be fascinating because my tendency is to always look at the distress part of situations and not necessarily focus on the eustress part of it, which is that there's a striving and a vigor. And I realized that even in my beloved stress-free area of swimming, there is actually a type of stress, eustress, good stress, because I'm pushing myself. And so I wonder if there's a way at this point in my life, after a few decades of creating music, that I can start to really focus my energy on eustress. I don't know. I guess I just have to try, which is what I did with this essay. I just tried. I hope you liked it. Wow, that was even worse than I remember it this morning. Oh my God.
Ellen Cherry, I have one question.
Oh no.
I only have one question.
I'm not embarrassed because it's
no,
like,
you shouldn't be. No, the essay is good. I just have one question.
Okay, what's your question?
Did you ever finish filling up the swimming pool that you were filling up during that essay? My God, woman. But
are you curious about what that sound was?
What, you were running a bath?
So I like to take my handheld recorder, and when I go out into nature or on vacation, I record water. So I'll go to the ocean and I'll record the sound of the ocean, or I'll go up to when I'm hiking in Gunpowder Falls, Gunpowder River. I go up there and in Maine, and so this morning when I was putting together this essay and I was trying to figure out a sound that could go with it, I was like, what about water? I'm going to end up talking about swimming. But listening to it now, it sounds like I'm running a bath. It sounds like I'm running a bath.
Down. I gotta scrub this stress off. Stress. I have stress nodules.
I can't believe that I have to do this essay while I'm actually in the shower. That's what it sounded like.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not embarrassed. It's just proof that Grim and I are trying to manage a lot of things, including this therapeutic podcast that is really for ourselves. And that it was the distress of having to do this essay was stressing me out so bad that I literally fell asleep last night. I was just like, I can't think about this anymore.
Wow.
I was like, I'm setting an alarm. I'll get up in the morning and I'll deal with it. And then in the morning I woke up and I was like, I mean, exactly what I
Sure.
said. I was stressed about it.
The important thing about the essay and the important thing about the process, and even the topic we talk about stress. Like there is this. We both talk about it. We talk about the pressure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on self-imposed. Not, I think anything that is public, like societal pressure, is just kind of made up stuff. I think the real pressure comes from within, and we really feel like we have to produce something brilliant or genius or just even good. And you and I, and actually all the writers that I know and respect and I like, we all have that. There's pressure, but we also have very clear boundaries and what Hemingway called a built-in shockproof shit detector. And when you're doing something that's terrible. I mean, almost immediately when you're writing something where, if you're writing a song and you're producing it and you're not really, for me, it's when I'm not happy with the lyrics. Musically, I'm usually pretty okay with how everything kind of falls together. But lyrically, I'll be like, ugh, that's a terrible lyric. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep that for the moment. Let's just be a placeholder, and I'll figure that out later. And then I go back and rework it. But I know it's crap when I see it. And even when I share songs, if I share a song with you or I share a song with my friends, there's this sudden moment of like pressure of like I have to qualify to you immediately. This line's terrible. I know it. I don't want you to think that I think that it's good. It's not. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But that's also the way you just qualified your essay. And your essay, and I'm here to tell you, the essay is. I think the essay is really good for an improvisation at like what time in the morning, and there you were doing your dishes, and the water's running in the background, and you have soap in your eye, and and then you're trying to you're trying to hit pause on your phone, and then you're getting water on the iPhone. You're like, oh, is that going to kill it? And then you got to put it in a bag of rice, and blah blah blah. But I think the point is that the point is that the stress exists, and that we do try. And those are the two big things that you talked about in that essay to begin with, was like, how do you cope with the stress? And being an artist is not about being successful all the time. It's about the attempt. And
that's a nice thing to say. It is about the attempt.
It is. It's always about the attempt.
It's like that moment in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when he's just like, at least I tried.
Yeah.
At least I tried.
Juicy fruit.
I'm feeling like that. I'm more aware of how much I feel like that.
Yeah.
That I'm more aware of, and maybe that's a way of shifting my own negative voice to being like, well, you tried, and that's good.
Yeah. And the same thing goes with the conversation we've been having about your portraits project.
Yeah.
You're not happy with where it is, and you've done this and you've done that, and you've hired this person, and then you rework this part, and then you revise that part, and then you performed it there, and then you're like, oh, I think it's okay, and then you're like, no, I don't think it's okay, and then where are those marbles I put when I was 9, and then you're trying to figure all that stuff out.
I definitely have distress about that project. I feel stretched apart over it.
You certainly do, and I would argue that that's okay. It doesn't feel good. But the reason it doesn't feel good is because it's not. You do not think that it's meeting the standards that you have set for yourself.
Yeah, it's not solved yet. The equation isn't solved yet.
And the argument that I've always had with my students about writing, but also about my own music, and I would even argue with you, and I know you totally believe this, because this is another conversation we could have at some other point. But once you finish a record, it's not done. Mm-mm. And I still hear things in that's why I can't listen to anything past, anything before 2009. I don't listen to those records. I can't. Oh my God. I was an idiot back then. And the live performances that I do of the songs that I choose off of those records, they're really great. I really like those. But
that's part of it too, because those songs have been like little children that have matured and grown and changed over time. And actually we're not. I mean, you and I have talked about this before, and we've talked about it with tons of recording artists, that like it's a snapshot. And once you realize that it's a snapshot, then you accept more, you relax about the room sound or about an out of tune note or just even a moment in time that is an interesting quirk.
Right.
Whereas when I hear major label pop produced songs, sometimes there's not that playfulness and acceptance of the snapshot in it.
Right.
And when you do hear those on a big release, or a big hit song, like I feel like Daft Punk did that pretty well in Random Access Memories. There were these huge soundscape songs that were danceable, but you could tell that they were live musicians and they were really playing. Like the drummers and were amazing, and they were recorded, and you could hear room sound, and it was incredible. I don't think you can hear that if you're just listening to it on tiny earbuds, but if you listen to it on actual like headphones or stereo system. And that Kendrick Lamar song that I was jamming out to last week, that there's so many little elements in there that are playful and fun. And your favorite artist, Kesha.
Oh yeah, she's the best.
Like Grim, I know a huge fan of hers. You are. She has this great song called "Woman," and in the middle of it, she uses this vocal track that is her laughing, and it's like you can tell that she's just in the room in the vocal booth just laughing, and she's just messed up one of the lines, and they kept it, and I was like, that's awesome.
Sure, she's the Mac.
I think you would like that. You need to listen to "Woman."
I am not listening to "Woman." I'm not listening to Kesha.
It's got the Dap Kings on it.
And for the Dap Kings, I'm glad for them because they Kesha Shmesha, man. That's what I say.
I know how you feel about her. Yep. Her music.
Yeah, I don't know her personally, and I read the interviews.
So stress and perfectionism, and our own. I don't know. Where are we going with this? Stress.
Well,
we were supposed to talk about the physical effects of fame.
Yeah, it's but that stress is physical because you listen to your voice on that, just the like when you get stressed out about these things, or when you think about the physical pressure of fame, it affects your health. You get run down. You get like actually when I first started listening to the essay, it sounded more like it was rain. And it was a rainy, atmospheric type of thing. And then how you come in on you're sounding very Eeyore-like.
And tired.
Yeah. And very just kind of like,
It's the morning.
and there's that, I don't know if fame does that because, once again, neither of us are famous.
Yeah.
But both of us work hard. I mean, I'm super tired. My last 48 hours have been stupid. Yeah. I was in New York City. I was on a mega bus. I was walking around Queens. I was teaching college. I was then at Georgetown University listening to, Archbishop McElroy talk to somebody about something, and then
he has a hit song.
He does.
Uptown Funk.
Uptown Funk, gonna give it to you. Yeah. Oh no, it's Upstairs Funk.
I love how the Vatican is getting involved in pop culture.
That Pope Francis. He's Funky Francis. Well, it's time for their snack.
Okay, so dear listeners, I looked over to my right and there were two cats just sitting there they surprised me like familiars.
Yep.
Non-familiar familiars.
Well, you can scratch Mouse on the head a little bit more. He really likes it. He'll start purring immediately.
Oh, Mousy.
Yeah. So
So both of us are so tired that we're so easily distracted by cats.
By cats. Well, there's little dudes. They're pretty cool. They're nice guys. I like my cats. Anyhow, I realize I say that a lot in this podcast.
You do talk about your cats.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
But to get back to the idea of the stress and the physical and stuff, it is a grind. And I was thinking that when I started thinking about my essay, I was going to write about. I wanted to write about how debilitating that famous people, you watch them go through some sort of awful decline, because the pressure is so immense to keep not only inventing work that's great, but then they have an audience that they feel like they have to please. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, because if they don't, then they're not going to buy it. And so these people are in probably a lot of pain and stress. And then they self-medicate, and then that self-medication takes years off their lives. Mm-hmm. I love Tom Petty, but you saw him the last few years, man. He looked terrible, And I don't think it was because of the fame that he was trying, like, because he was Tom Petty. I mean, he'd reached
Yeah,
the
he
level
doesn't
that
need to be more famous.
he didn't. He was at his pinnacle for like the past 25 years
Yeah,
of fame.
because he's doing amazing work.
But even in that amazing work, he's, you know, he didn't take care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't do the things that he needed to do. He was still smoking, and he was still, I mean, I don't know if he was on drugs, but he, you know, you're in that world, and then it's just like, well, what does it matter? I guess I don't know. I'm kind of making that shit up, but but it just seems like, you know, Amy Winehouse is a great example of somebody who's, you know, they say they can't handle the fame. I don't know if that's true.
I think that it seems to me.
I think it's self-destructive more than anything else.
Well, the fame seems to exacerbate and quicken
Ooh. Almost choked up on my own coffee.
the wasting disease of
Yeah.
fame. You know, like it's a circular thing where. Did you see the documentary about her,
No.
Amy? It's excellent.
It's on HBO, right?
It might be on HBO or Amazon or something. It's amazing. People should watch it. I think it really showcases what an amazing talent she was.
Right.
Songwriter and guitar player and musician, just really, really brilliant. And because I think that there's sometimes the illusion, especially with female artists, there's still the illusion that there's not a lot of owning or not ownership, that they are the source of all of that creative
Right.
material. And she was. I mean, she was a great songwriter and a really fine musician as well. And an incredible vocalist. I mean, her just the instrument of her voice. And performer when she was able to. But you can see a person who is struggling with addiction, specifically to alcohol, and which is an acceptable thing to be addicted to because it's a legal drug.
That's right.
I mean, especially in this country, it's celebrated and
and it's expected.
Yeah, and I really do feel like that fame. I don't know. I mean, the documentary talks about like how her level of fame did not benefit her because there were people not more interested.
In the tabloid aspect.
It seemed like it was almost more of a joke, you know, like you become a joke that way. And like, that's a person who is actually contributing something valuable to everybody else and is a positive force for good and dealing with sorrow and breakup and in song and celebrating a tradition of music.
Well, and that Back to Black record is really, it's a great record.
Oh my God. It's from beginning to end. It's amazing.
It sounds so good. And the turn of phrase is good. The writing's really good. And just the whole feel of it, and the fact that it was like it ushered in, I don't want to say a new sound, but a refreshed idea of sound for what was popular, what was going on in a particular time, and so you know you have all those things, and I think that's really there's an artifact that will last a long time.
I think I'm a little bit not afraid, but I think that I would be afraid if I became famous that there's that celebration of the destructive quality of it.
I think I would. I think I would save all my money. Like you know, if you if you suddenly had a worldwide hit, you would have to redraw your boundaries.
Yeah,
and you would. I don't want to sound cliche when I say stay grounded, but you would have to keep your eyes on your work, and I think you would probably have to actually leave the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to survive.
Yeah.
Because I'm too sensitive. Like if I read it on the internet, like you know, Grimm sucks. If it was like somebody I know, I'm like I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, if a rock critic that you know is a writer and is like, well, you know, it's not that good of a record, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I heard your record. It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
You know, well, you want to go head to head, toe to toe with songwriting? All right, I'm down.
If it was a fellow musician or like
a fellow musician or just you know somebody who, you know, there are a couple folks in town who I'm not going to mention names or anything like that, but there's some folks who dabble in music, and I don't know if their writing's all that good.
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't take personally to that, but like if there's like the internet trolls of the world, I was like, man, I don't need that negativity.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like me and drinking. Every other year I take a year off, and
I didn't realize it was that planned out.
it is now.
Okay.
It became planned out last year.
Interesting.
I was drinking too much.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was the drinking maybe, but it was the productivity that I wasn't seeing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I worked so hard to get out of teaching high school, and to do all those other things. Why am I drinking a 6-pack of IPA at 2 p.m.?
Yeah.
It's not good. So I wanted to redefine my boundaries and try to figure out, okay, well, you know what? I'll take another year off of drinking.
Yeah.
And then this next year coming up in June, I'll be back off of the wagon. But it's about like I want to retain my control.
Yeah.
And I don't have like, it's not like I'm struggle with that. Well, whatever, I'm getting off my topic. But what was my point? I was drinking.
We were talking about Amy Winehouse, and
Amy Winehouse.
I was talking about the Schadenfreude.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Watching somebody fall.
Sure. And then there's that idea of
It's even more insidious than Schadenfreude, because Schadenfreude is sort of like a mishap that happens to somebody. And you're like, ha, 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 ha.
Right.
Not like, oh my gosh, that is a person who is literally days away from dying, or
right. But I think my point
or having
was
a mental break.
Was talking about how like if you reach that level of fame, you have to redefine your boundaries, and then go. Because you're going to be isolated regardless. If you're that famous and you can't go out to the restaurant for dinner, or you can't go to the grocery store without being bothered by people or approached by people or whatever, you're going to become like incredibly isolated. And I think that instead of letting fame define you, you define fame. You have to take control of that for yourself. And I would want to live in the same house, but I don't think I would be able to.
Yeah.
I think I said, okay, well, it's time to go to somewhere remote.
Yeah.
and to be away from people, and that could be that might intensify the work better, and it might not be exactly how I want to live, but also it's like understanding that this is the situation that I've created for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
I think we're in danger of that.
No, my goodness. My goodness gracious.
I would like to qualify.
But that was all hypothetical.
Yes,
If we were.
I don't personally feel in danger of that in my lifetime because of the way that the system is set up. I'm simply too old to be even. I mean, to reach a level of fame that we sometimes talk about
that'll never happen.
It would be the willingness of a company to invest millions and millions of dollars in a 42-year-old woman, which that's why I think people say, like, why don't you go on The Voice? Because that is the type of shot that you take, they are looking for a story of somebody that is like not 22 and I don't know actually, but I don't watch that show, so I don't even know what the kind of stories they're looking for. I mean, they're looking for stories that are like they're
looking for the girl next door, or they're looking for, the farm boy, or like, the idiot savant who can sing and like,
We're so critical of that show.
Well, it's junk. It's literally junk. Okay. So the problem with The Voice is that there's this idea that these people are artists, and I wholeheartedly disagree, because they're playing cover songs.
Is that the premise of it? Because I thought it was specifically just about performing.
It is, but there's no artistry to it, and so this idea of like, well, that's like window shopping at a guitar store.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that one looks really good. Oh, that one sounds really good.
Yeah.
But
without the substance or the original content, or like the passion that it would inspire the two of us to participate in something like that, if it actually was like,
if it was a songwriting voice,
that'd be different. Yeah, like if it was something where you have to bring your original music.
Maybe we should do a long form video, video vidcast.
This is our $10,000 idea, songwriting voice, so we can have spinning chairs, stuff like that.
Well, could you imagine? Could you imagine if you had like, an American songwriter voice type of program where your mentors aren't like dipshits like Blake Shelton, and it's actually like, Steve Earle? Or I mean, these are the people that you're working with, are like, the songwriters that we both are just like, oh man, those people.
Well, Ben Folds was on one of the singing competitions. I think it was the one where it's the a cappella group. He was on that one. And I remember thinking that was a solid choice by the producers because you're going to attract, he's an amazing songwriter and incredible performer and musician and like, and very funny and interesting and cool turns of phrase, especially in his rock music. And it's like, yeah, that is, I would want to be a part of that competition where somebody like that is critiquing me.
Well, you know, the like the little vignettes that they show little vignettes of like the vocal coach working with no, you want to hit it like this and you want to hit it like that, blah blah blah. Well, the songwriting coaching with those guys would be like this. I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
You get to go back and do it again.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Go back and stare at the wall for another 2 hours.
This week is like this week on the songwriter voice. I don't know. It sounds kind of cliche to me.
Have you tried looking in your rhyming dictionary?
Those guys. I saw a rhyming dictionary the other day.
I have one, and I have to tell you that
you have one?
Of course. Wow. I'm a songwriter. Of course, I have a rhyming dictionary.
I'm a songwriter. I don't have one. I just asked Megan
I'm trying
Mouse.
to be Ryman Paul Simon. I wrote 2 songs a couple of years ago during the FAM February album writing month.
Are you going to do that this year?
Of course, I join every year.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was like 2 or 3 years ago, and I wrote 2 songs. I wrote a couple of songs, but in the songs, I used the words sobriquet and oubliette.
Very accessible words.
Yeah, and because I was like, and I got this from the rhyming dictionary because I was just like, well, what rhymes with this? And I think the line was, can the planets ask the sun to forget something? And I rhymed the word oubliette, which is a door in the floor that you would open.
Oh.
That's an oubliette.
Oh, the door on the floor. Did you see that movie?
I have read the book too.
Oh.
A Widow for 1 Year by John Irving.
Oh, good old John Irving.
Good old John Irving.
Whatever happened to him?
Didn't he get famous?
Yeah, Prayer for Owen Meany.
He was like super famous.
World According to Garp. He's dead, isn't he?
I think John Irving is dead. I'm not sure, but surely somebody, the 2 people who are still listening at this
The
point.
Hotel New Hampshire. You say that every week. No one's listening to this.
Let us know.
I'm Ellen Cherry.
Let us know. That's what I mean. Like, there's a secret pessimist in the room who sounds like an optimist, and that's me. And there's a secret optimist in the room who sounds like a pessimist, and that's you.
I believe you got to do what you got to do.
Yes, you're a realist.
And our time here in the studio-ish place is valuable.
It is valuable.
I'm getting something out of this. I don't know what you're getting out of it, but
coffee.
You are getting coffee, and you get to see my cats.
And I get to see Andrew Grimm's cats.
Yep. Those cute little dudes.
So sobriquet.
Sobriquet, yes.
Which is a beautiful word.
Right.
Which I believe means nickname.
Oh.
Like, call my sobriquet.
Huh.
You know what another word is that doesn't make sense to me? Crepuscule. Crepuscular.
Crepuscular?
Crepuscular.
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 Yeah, that's active at dusk.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great
Twilight.
word.
I think crepuscule means twilight, doesn't it?
Crepuscule?
Crepuscule.
Yeah, it's twilight, yes.
Yeah. And it just seems like such a brutal, terrible word for such a beautiful time of day. Twilight.
Well, you could rhyme it with muscular if you had to.
This day has been so muscular, and now it's crepuscular.
No.
Friends, get out your rhyming dictionaries.
That's right. Get them out. Rhyme it with pusillanimous.
So what are we promoting a track that should be famous today?
We are. I don't know what track that is.
We're going to stop and figure it out for a second.
We're going to pause. Just.
Well, you're not going to know.
Wireless radio listeners, just hold on a second. Okay, so we're back, deciding that we're going to listen to Andy Bopp's new single called Shadow, and here you go.
I can be free, living in your shadow, standing over me, hiding from the sun, with a bit of light and some reservation. I could be with you deep into the night. Anything
Wow, that was cool. I've never heard Andy Bopp. No, I'm just joking. I've heard Andy Bopp over the years, and that was really cool to hear that song because I didn't even know that he had a new single coming out.
He did. Well, you're not on the social media like we are.
Okay.
Are you friends with Andy Bopp on social media?
I think that I'm friends with him on social media. Hopefully.
Yeah, you better double check.
Yeah.
Because he posted that as a YouTube video,
Oh, cool.
which is pretty cool.
So tell me why you think it should be famous. Like, what is it about the song that appealed to you? And I mean, you're also playing on it.
Well, yeah, that's the only real reason is because I'm playing lap steel on the recorded artifact itself. No, I think it should be famous because I think it's a well written song. I think it's it definitely has its Beatle elements to it and stuff like that. But not many people are doing things like that right now.
Yeah.
So there's kind of once again there's this new kind of like you don't hear that very often. So I'm going to pause and kind of listen to it.
It's like a refreshing reminder of that type of sound.
Yeah.
And well done.
Yeah, it's very well done, and it was recorded. I recorded my parts here. The modern day independent musician recording thing. I mean, it's either you're just like super lo-fi, recording it to an old tape recorder, or you're kind of piecing it together wherever you can or however you can. And he recorded a lot of that at his house on a digital recorder. And he sent me those tracks, and so then I recorded my tracks here, and I Dropboxed those to Jay Robbins over at Magpie, and then he dropped them in, and then it's kind of like this effort, a collected effort to put all this stuff, all the pieces together.
And that's a change from even how it was when you and I started recording,
Yeah.
which was like you just go in the studio and you do it all in one.
In like an 8-hour period.
Yeah.
Because it was so expensive. And do you remember when like you had to, I don't know if you had this experience, but you had to bring a CD, like it's either you brought CDs for them to burn or you had to pay like $10 to get a CD burned. And it was like, I remember the first time I heard I had a CD burned of my stuff, and I was like, oh my God, so exciting.
I can listen to it in my car.
It's on the CD, oh, I can't wait to hear it. And now it's kind of like, nobody cares about CDs. I mean,
It was so quick.
Yeah.
I also like the extended end bridge section. The reprise of the bridge at the end that's extended like 2 to 4 times longer than you think it is going to be.
Right.
And then it was I really like it because I like the Beatles and I love that sound and it is familiar, and I will give it a second listen because of the style that he did it to get the content of it on the next listen. Because this first listen through, I was just listening to the music, which was great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So there you go, Andy Bopp. You can find him at andyboppusa.com.
Is there another Andy Bopp?
There's another Andy Bopp in Sweden, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So there you have it. So we talk about our tour.
Have we talked about our tour yet?
We haven't talked about it yet. We are last episode. We talked a little bit about Lawrence, Kansas.
Larry, Kansas.
Larry K. And now the next stop is Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Which I have no connections there. Do you have connections there?
The only connection I have is one of my really super great friends, Carl Jones, who lives in New York City, and we went to Hendrix College together in Arkansas. He is from Tulsa.
Oh.
So I might be able to talk to him. I looked at the calendar last night and realized that I need to make a connection because for some reason I was assuming that you had an idea. But if we're going to Tulsa...
I don't have an extreme idea about it.
Okay.
Oh, look, Mouse is typing.
Mouse is typing on your computer. Yeah. Mouse! I can't wait to see what he wrote. He wrote a lot, at least like, 2 sentences.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what we could do? Oh, this is going to be totally cool.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, you ready? You
yes.
ready? Bear with me. When we go to Tulsa, we can recreate The Outsiders.
Oh, I have to be...
Johnny Cake.
I have to be Johnny.
Yeah.
You can be Pony Boy.
Pony Boy Curtis?
I think I have to be Johnny because...
Here it comes.
Because if you look at me, I look like Ralph Macchio.
You do.
It's sort of been a whole lifelong thing. And I'm going to be as ageless as he is too, because he's 58 now, and he looks
really young.
He looks like 20.
Have you been watching The Deuce?
Is he in it?
He's in it.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it.
And it's David Simon.
Oh, awesome.
David Simon wrote it. Or is he co-writer?
Baltimore native,
Yep.
Baltimore writer.
It's really good. I watched the first season.
Okay, I didn't realize
Dudes.
Ralph Macchio's in it. I kind of avoid some things because of James Franco.
He's awesome in it.
Okay.
He's in it. Is I don't particularly care for James. There's a broness about James
Yeah,
Franco
that's
that
what
I
turns me off sometimes.
But I think that's only when he's around Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Seth Brogen.
So maybe when they're separate,
Maybe when they're separate, they're okay.
he can be who he truly is,
Yeah,
an
he can be
amazing
himself.
actor. Yeah, I think that I would want to be Johnny because I look like Ralph Macchio.
Johnny Cake.
I'm gonna dye my hair blonde.
Stay gold.
Oh no, wait,
Pony
Pony Boy dyes his
Yeah.
hair blonde. Johnny's the one who gets burned and dies in the hospital.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He's stay gold, Pony Boy.
Stay gold.
Johnny Cake. Matt Dillon's worst performance ever. We're gonna teach those socials tonight, man. We're gonna do it tonight, man. We're gonna do it for Johnny, man. What a terrible book. It is. I know some people are like, The Outsider is my favorite book ever. You need to read more books.
Yeah, you should read more books.
That book is junk. And the movie, I like the movie.
I thought the movie was really
Francis
good.
Ford Coppola directed it. Tom Waits is in it as Buck Merrill.
Tom Waits is in it. Patrick Swayze.
Diane Lane
Yes.
is in it.
What's
Emilio Estevez.
Emilio Estevez.
Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. He's
Is he?
Steve. Yep.
You've been watching this movie a lot.
Hey.
You're just a fan. You're just
I'm
a fan
I'm
of
just
it.
a fan of the movie. Yep.
So I feel like today went pretty well,
I,
considering that it started with me waking up this morning and basically doing my podcast in the shower.
right. And me not knowing what day of the week it is. And not having anything set up.
Grim, you need to take a nap.
I'm not going to have a chance to take a nap tonight.
He's gigging.
Yeah, it's 6:30 to 8:30. It's an early gig at the Monument Brewing. So all
But
you
by the
people-
time this airs, you're not going to hear it.
well, you'll all have to get in your collective time machines and go back.
Ooh, but by the time this airs, I'll be playing at Monument Brewing, Monument City Brewing Company.
Oh, you'll have your new PA that you ordered, right?
Yes, exactly.
Uh-huh.
I will.
Did you order it? You didn't order it, did you?
I'm still compiling the elements in my mind of what I'm going to order.
I wrote you a list.
I know. There's other things I need to get from our sponsor, our future sponsor, Sweetwater.com.
Oh man, that would be.
Oh, come on, Sweetwater.
that'd be so
Sponsor us.
tight.
Sponsor us.
Mike Arango, you are my sales engineer. Please.
Austin Moss. You've been my
Austin Moss. That's a good
Austin
name.
Moss has been my sales engineer at Sweetwater for like 11 or 12 years.
Yeah. I've been working with Mike since 2010.
Musicians who are listening, Sweetwater is a great company.
Yep.
They stand by their products. They're super fast at shipping. They're really helpful. And there are a bunch of people who actually know
They know everything.
what they're talking about and are very helpful. They're a great company in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yep.
And we drove by there this summer or last year with
Last
Matt
year.
Monta. We
Yeah.
were driving by and I was like, oh my God, there's the Sweetwater. It was like Mecca.
We should be able, let's look at our tour and figure out if we're going through Indianapolis, maybe we'll have enough time to stop at Sweetwater.
Yeah, maybe we should do a show there.
Meet our sales.
Meet our sales engineers. Oh my God, it'd be so exciting. Nerds. Oops.
Yeah.
The cats are getting restless
Yes.
wanting to participate
So
in a nap.
So as we wind these things up, as always, I'm gonna ask Ellen Cherry. Ellen Cherry, if I were just desperate to buy really great music about the introspective nature of
Me.
of you and women and stuff
Welcome
like that.
to me.
Yes, your sensuousness from the last podcast.
To experience my sensuousness through music.
Because now all I can hear is you in the shower. Where would I find that?
You would go to ellencherry.com and
Uh-huh.
you would click on the store page, which would take you to ellencherry.bandcamp.com.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
So there's 2 ways,
2 ways to get Ellen Cherry.
2 portals.
Uh-huh.
How can we porta potty ourselves into your world?
Well, you just got to talk to my cousin Donnie.
Just right outside on the lawn.
Yeah, he's out there. He's out there back. He got his own storefront. It's like he's got some oily rags and
I want you to put that in
some
the merch
matches.
section.
Oily rags.
Oily rags.
Cousin Donnie's oily rag.
$3.
$3. $3, you get yourself one of them rags. And
$8.
Yeah, $8. You can get like a package. Like
Pack
you
of
get a
5.
CD, oily rag, and you get an old trucker cap. Ooh. I know some Baltimore musicians who will want to buy that. Anyhow, you can find my stuff at junestar.com, JUNESTARD.com, DOTCOM. I don't know. I'm tired.
June starred.
June. Yo, you June starred. Shut up.
And you can find us at whyaren'tyoufamous.org.
Yeah, well, I didn't mention my subscriptions.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I got to subscribe. You get all of my records, plus I post a song a week. This year is public domain songs, and they're all awesome and fun, and you get all the records, and June Star has a new record coming out in the spring, and you would get that in the subscription. It is a one-stop shop for all your June Star needs. And also, whatever, please give me your money. I'll just be blunt now.
I think it's worthwhile.
I think so too. I agree.
And actually, I was thinking about this. You know that I need to subscribe to your subscription service.
Well, I need to subscribe to your service.
Yeah, but then I was just like, that's sort of canceling it out, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also, I would be able to say I have 20 subscribers then.
Ooh, okay, I'll do it.
And how many subscribers do you have?
I think I have 11.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So the ultimate goal is 1,000.
Yes.
Hey, we should have a challenge.
We should have a challenge. Okay, I'm gonna try to get 2 more subscribers in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, I will. We'll do the challenge match.
Okay.
So if I get 2, then you have to get 4.
Okay.
What? No, that doesn't make
Wait,
sense.
what?
No. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the goal for the next week is to get two more subscribers.
Okay.
In the next week.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
It's on.
It's on, enemy.
Frenemy.
Enemy of mine.
Best frenemy. Best enemy.
Okay,
My favorite is best enemy.
Best enemy. So we're gonna. That's better than best enema, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay, so we're gonna say goodbye, podcasters. Bye, podcasters.
And our next episode
Or
is
podcastees.
podcastees.
I don't know what the next episode is.
You're just gonna have to wait and find out.
Well, here we go.
All right. See ya.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.